pacing back and forth. Oh, I don't understand why you're standing right here. All your shots have scored. No, scratching at the scars you left on my skin. We fight and we fall and we rise through it all till we find what we want, then we lose it all again. Your touch on my skin, pull me close, take me in. Just me, just you, lost in the moment.
Hello everybody, it's Karen. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hello. I'm really glad you clicked on this video. And for my returning gems, I'm so glad you're here for another video. I want to do something today a little bit different. Now, I started to do some get ready with me's last month and you guys were like, Karen, let's do more of them. And some of you had mentioned too that you really didn't like my intro. If that is something that you would like to see change, would you put that down in the comments below? I love hearing feedback. Some of you said you love it, and lately I got another comment saying that they didn't like it, and it's not something I want, out there. If I'd rather make something that you guys want to see, as well as the intro, the outro, and of course the video itself. So you guys know I'm a makeup artist. I love makeup. I love doing tutorials. I love showing you guys different things. I love doing reviews for you and unboxings, all that fun stuff in my spare time. Not that I have a lot because I'm a mom and I know you guys know how that is, but I like to watch SVU on Hulu. I like to watch Netflix, Criminal Minds, Forensic Files, all these different TV shows, and it's just a part of me. It's just like I like coffee, I like to watch those shows too. And I recently came across, since I don't really have TV, I have Hulu and stuff, I don't really know what's out, like what new TV shows are out there that you guys are watching now, but I found the first season of Guilty or Innocent, and it's streaming on Hulu right now. If you have that, it's just like Netflix. It's more of newer movies and stuff like that, but it's also got like new episodes of Law and Order, as they come out on, I don't know if they air Wednesday or Thursday. They're on Hulu the next day, so I'm able to see it there that way, and I only pay like $7 a month for it. But anyway, so I've been watching this new TV show where it's people that have been charged with a really serious offense, and you might think that these people are actually innocent. Now I'm going to tell you a story today while I'm doing my makeup, and I will try to put everything that I use down in the description box below for you. But this story caught my eye. It was pretty... Okay, so I've washed my face. I was at the pool today. It was fun. It's the 4th of July. I don't know when this will upload, but I've cleaned my face. I've put on my tea tree oil that I use to keep bacteria down. So this way when I'm clogging my pores with makeup, I have less breakouts. And I'm looking for my primer. Let's get that out and put that on. And I want to talk to you about... It's episode number 2 on Guilty or Innocent, and it's streaming on Hulu. And it's about this woman, Danita, her family. She's got 2 boys. Now, her youngest son was a premature baby, and he was only 9 inches long when she brought him home. He was, of course, on a breathing machine. She didn't get to touch him for like 4 or 5 months, but they show these clips in there of her with him, and it's just the sweetest thing. And he has GI problems. Now this boy has grown up and he has problems to where he can't eliminate waste. His bowels has a blockage, there's an issue with his colon, there's an issue with his kidneys. So they're like in and out of the hospital pretty much for his whole life. Woman Connie, who like oversaw everything in the hospital, she was like a nurse coordinator or something like that. She kept like going in and talking to the mom and saying, you better prepare yourself. Your son's not going to make it. And there's really no point in, us continuing this. They were like trying to say that the mom was making these decisions for the son, when in reality it was her and some of the doctors. So she's in the Ronald McDonald house. She's not feeling comfortable being there. Parents were always there. The mom especially was always there. And they wanted to observe the kid for 3 days without the parents. And they thought that this was kind of strange. So they went home and they were thinking about it. She talked to her father, Danita talked to her father, and, he was a retired police officer, an investigator for 40 years. And he's like, if you feel like you need to go pick up your child and bring him home, it's not like it's something that you signed him in and needed to sign him out. It was, a place for him to be, supposedly him being on his deathbed, so to speak. And they went and picked up their son. Well, the next day, this woman calls Child Protective Services. And all of these allegations that came next were absolutely crazy. CPS came to her door after that, took her son Colby, who is the one that's sick, away, and then a week later came back and took Colton. And they didn't have them for 9 months. Okay, now there's no abuse going on in the home. There was just problems with the son eating and maintaining nutrition, which the mom did everything she could and everything she was told. And these allegations were that because of how the mom portrayed his symptoms, the doctors did surgeries and they were unnecessary surgeries, according to the doctors. And they ended up causing more harm, so they charged her with attempted murder. They charged her with starvation, and there were 2 other charges as well. So she was charged with fabricating symptoms to get the doctors to do surgery on her child, and starvation, and attempted murder. Now, the news report came about when these charges came about, and it came about on May 6th of 2016, I believe. And when the news went ahead and reported that this woman had been arrested, it was after CPS came, took the kids away, then they arrested her, and they said that she had bought a headstone for him. And really what it was is they told her that the child, wasn't going to make it, and they kept telling her that. And they said that he had developed sepsis after his latest surgery. So while the child was not really eating and he was in that Ronald McDonald house, that woman kept feeding her information, the mother information, that, well, your child's not going to make it, And when she reported this incident, she told CPS that the mom had said, isn't there something we can give him to put him to sleep to where he doesn't wake up? And that's not what the mom said. It was what that woman had told her. So they were basically saying, prepare yourself, get ready. He's got 6 months or less to live. And she took her child out of that environment, brought her home. They wound up saying, okay, she removed him from our care. This is what we think is going on. And oh my goodness. So at this point, the mother gets arrested. She gets out on a bond. I think the bond was like $4,500. So this woman's out on bond. And she was basically told, your son's not going to make it. We've done surgeries for him, and there's nothing more that we can do. We can't fix this problem. By doing the surgeries, they actually ended up making him a little bit worse. And he was the child that always needed to take something to be able to go to the bathroom. He was always going to have GI problems. So they didn't give them any hope after that. They took the kid home, and then they started to prepare for the fact that, he was not going to make it. So now the mom's on bond, and she's facing these charges. She has to get her kids back, and they wound up getting them back 9 months later. The court actually agreed with them, and they got the kids back, but the district attorney kept with the proceeding of these charges. So she knew she was going to have to go to trial. Now, she has a lawyer. And the lawyer, of course, they're getting prepared for this, and they're looking at everything. The prosecution had yet to send everything over to the defense. And when they did, they even sent her Facebook posts trying to say that the mother had Munchausen's by proxy. Now, that is something that is very serious, and it's rare that it happens, but it's an illness to where you want attention, so you make your child sick in order to help them get better and gain the attention from that. Now, the mom was documenting on Facebook the journey for Colby on what was going on. So they actually had to look at what the evidence said as far as Facebook and then go through his medical records to match it up, you know? And I mean, these are Facebook posts. They're Facebook posts, you know? And here they are doing that. That's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. She has got a family that supports her so well. She never starved her child. And all this stuff is going on. So the lawyer's trying to prepare her for the trial. She's like, look, you know, we're going to go through some hoops here. They're going to try to make it look like you murdered your child. And they get everything ready, and the trial begins. So they've got surgeons, doctors ready to testify, and the defense, obviously, you know, gets to question them. And what ends up happening is that they couldn't find, the prosecution failed to, anything that they came out of their mouths that they spoke of with their testimony, to find anything that Danita did criminally wrong. So the defense is like, okay, we had a good week, you know, and it's not, it may not be that we have a great week next week. You know, there are more people that they're going to call as witnesses. So everyone's trying to give her encouragement, her dad and everything, saying, don't worry, honey, you know, you didn't do anything wrong. And you see them praying before, you know, she goes into court each time. And I was just like, you see the pictures of the kid, and you see like the home movies of how she took care of him, how she celebrated his birthdays and all these different things. He had genetic problems. He was born premature. He had problems since birth. And while they were trying to figure out those problems, the surgeons had said at this hospital, the only thing left to do is these 2 surgeries. So he had these 2 surgeries. They were unsuccessful. They wound up hindering his progress more. So they sent him to hospice. So now this kid was sent to hospice, and he got the sepsis infection, so they said. And then, you know, it was weird because after they told their son that he had it, they said, prepare yourselves. A day or 2 later, without him taking antibiotics, it miraculously cleared up. Now, how does that happen? And that's put in the medical records, you know? He had it, but then he didn't. So, okay. And that was when she made the choice to take her son home, because she was like, I don't think they're right. He wasn't dying. You know, and they had led her to believe that he was. They had led her to believe, you know, that we don't have to make sure he eats, and we don't have to do this because, you know, it's prolonging everything for him. That was the impression they gave. Those were the things that were spoken to this poor mom. It was absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so they have a pediatrician that is considered an expert in being able to diagnose and find cases where they have a parent, children have had a parent that is diagnosed with Munchausen's by proxy, which is where you would make the kid sick, like I was talking to you about before. And they're saying that this woman is an expert. Now, mind you, they show a clip of her talking about how she has 10 to 12 cases on her desk every month. And there's 1 to 2 that she finds to where that would be the case, that someone is actually purposely making this child sick. That average alone is ridiculous. Why would that happen in Fort Worth, Texas, but not happen anywhere else? And this woman was working with the prosecution, saying that the mom had Munchausen's by proxy. She was purposely starving her child. And the first 2 counts of the charges were that she was fabricating her son's symptoms to have surgeries. And the surgeries, like I said, wound up making the child sicker. So now they've come down to it. All right, everyone has pretty much testified. They've gotten up and said, okay, this is what this mom did, you know, and basically they really did not have solid proof that the woman was starving her child. It was just this woman's testimony. So then they're ready for the jury to deliberate to find out if she is going to be held guilty for any of these charges. So the jury is gone for 3 days before they come back, and they show a part where the lawyer's like, you know, they really failed to make their case. So, you know, I would have thought they would have been back with a not guilty verdict by now. So of course, you know, it makes us wonder how, I mean, with all of the information that was put into the jury and there really not being any solid evidence, I have to wonder, does the jury understand this? Are they qualified enough? I mean, when that lady got up and said the woman had Munchausen's, she was not a psychiatrist, she was not a psychologist, she could not make that determination. So she was not a professional in that area, even though the doctors and the people that worked for Cook's Children's Hospital in Fort Worth, Texas, said that she was an expert. At this point, I would be worried about the credibility of the doctors. You know, when you go to a doctor for something, the reason you go to a doctor is to get treatment for something, for them to find something out, why certain symptoms are leading to a certain problem and all that. So automatically those doctors, you know, have credibility just like police officers do. And the defense has a big job, but they were able to, like I said, really there was no hard evidence that this woman should have been found guilty for any of these things. So the jury is out deliberating for 3 days, and she's a nervous wreck saying, you know, this is the worst part of it. The family's like, you know, we got this. This should be fine. You know, they really did not have any solid evidence to show that she was starving her child. And I mean, in that, they were in a hospital setting, so how on earth, you know? The one lady, Connie, the one that started all the problems, she's the one that said that this child would not be dying if his mom fed him regularly. You know, it's ridiculous, but the child wasn't dying, okay? And obviously they weren't doing their job right there at the hospital. And I don't know why this lady would lie, unless, you know, I mean, they screwed up saying that he had the sepsis infection and then he didn't. I mean, that right there should have told the jury that something's not right, you know? So the jury comes back and they're reading the verdict and they find her not guilty on the first 2, which those charges were falsifying and fabricating symptoms so the surgeons would perform surgery on the child. She gets off on those. She's not guilty of it anyway, but just saying. And then they read the next 2 charges. The fireworks. So then they get to the starvation charge and the attempted murder charge, and they find her guilty. She gets 5 years in prison. And at the end of this, they had her being on the phone talking to her family, and her family was telling her to be strong. They couldn't understand how she wound up being found guilty. And honestly, I can't either. There was no hard evidence, but it's very possible that the jurors did not understand that fully, and it is so sad to see events like this happen. She was just taken from her children that she spent her entire life taking care of. Kobe was born premature, and he had problems because of that. And there were times where they had to work extra hard to get him to maintain his nutrition, you know, and he was malnourished from time to time. That was because of the things going inside his body. There was always food and drinks brought to him. That's what the family said. And they're a really close family. It just broke my heart to hear this. And then I thought, my gosh, if this happens in Texas, you've got this woman at that hospital there, they're thinking she's an expert. I'm wondering, oh, that was the other thing they said. There was 5 people convicted of Munchausen's by proxy because of the testimony of that woman. The pediatrician who did not have a psychiatry license or a psychologist license. So in reality, is not an expert in that field, cannot say that she is an expert on people that have Munchausen's by proxy. So anyhow, that is the story that I wanted to come out. I could not believe it after I watched it. So I thought I'll do a Get Ready With Me, and I will tell this story out there. And I really wanted to provide some entertainment for you guys, but I wanted to bring awareness to this as well, because there are times people are taken in and you think that's not going to happen to you. You know, people are charged with something and they're innocent. And I'm just blown away by stuff like that. I send her prayers and love, and hopefully she'll be able to not be as scarred when she does get released, and her children will not suffer. I mean, I would just say put it all in God's hands, you know. Tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. Is this something you would like me to regularly do? A Get Ready With Me and telling you a story? I'm going to have to work myself into it because it is hard to do your makeup and talk specifically about a story. But let me know if this is something you guys are interested in. Put that down in the comments below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions for me, as always, put them down there. I will do my very best to answer them. And I will see you really soon in another video. Bye!